Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the NQ80 Daily. Today with Tom, and I'm Ed. We're talking about Marcus Rashford. How's it going, Tom?
Yeah, good. I'm still riding the wave of Sunday, to be honest. Though This has kind of dampened the mood, I guess, over the last few days, or at least distracted the mood.
Yeah, I started the pod on Sunday with Dan saying, "Hey, is us beating City still the big story of the day, given that Rashford and Garnacho had been left out of the squad altogether?"
Yeah.
I think it might have been the big story. Rashford and Garnacho had Amad Diallo not pulled off a miracle and scored in the last minute. We'd be having a very different conversation. Details really matter. But then Rashford is at his old primary school for a charity event, giving out presents, and Henry Winter, who's covered that event previously, was there, and they had a chat. I'm not sure if it was pre-planned to do this or it was off the cuff. Clearly they know each other. I think Rashford's spoken to him before. And then Ruben Amorim, in his pre-Tottenham press conference, has kind of masterclass in diffusing the situation, I think. So that's what's happened in the last few days. Should we take them one after another? What were your immediate thoughts on reading the Rashford-Winter conversation quotes?
Yeah, I mean, even before that, the Jamie Jackson story that got leaked on Monday.
That had clearly come from the United side of things, that one.
Yeah, that really made me angry, to be honest, because it felt like Amorim had handled the situation perfectly. As we did the pod on, I think maybe Thursday or Friday after Paul's game, and we were saying on that pod, like, Garnacho and Rashford have been our worst players since Amorim came in, and we're looking at players like Anthony and Xerxes, we don't probably think are potentially good enough for the squad, and Anthony and Xerxes are looking okay. They're not looking like world beaters, but they're looking okay in the system, and you can see where they might fit into the system. Whereas Garnacho and Rashford, who are alongside Bruno are best players on paper, haven't been good. So I feel like the decision was completely fair enough based on football ability. And then it felt like a really good challenge that was set out to them by Amorim, in my opinion. It felt like, I'm challenging you to be better than you are currently. And I think if you're an adult man or adult woman, you see that response and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be up for the challenge. I'm gonna take this on. And therefore, for the club to come out on Monday and go, fuck you, basically, to Rashford, that's what it felt like to me. We're moving on. Like, we've had enough of you. Like, fuck off, kind of thing. And in a similar way to, like, probably about 50% of the United fans on this, because it's so divisive. Rashford is so divisive. Like 50%, it might not be 50%, but feels like a lot of people want Rashford gone. 50% of him love him, want him to stay. And it feels like they kind of sided with the trolls, the aggressors. And yeah, we've had enough of you. You clearly don't care. Whereas I don't think that was ever Amorim's motive. And therefore, I think Rashford had to come out on Tuesday with that statement to be like, yeah, I do care. I love Man United. He said that a couple of times, or words to that effect. But I don't know. He kind of intimated that he's not feeling great and he's ready for a new challenge. I guess we'll get onto what Amorim said today and how he interpreted that, because everyone interpreted that as a new challenge, which is going to be a new club. I'm ready to leave. He did talk about leaving and when I leave the club and blah, blah, blah. It felt like he had, whether it was pre-planned or not, I feel like he had to come out and say something, because if he wants to remain at the club, he had to come out and say, like, I'm still fighting for this
Yeah.
jersey.
Whenever Rashford does any media of any kind, whether it's a social media video with him doing training or whatever, or a charity event like this, or a formal interview, there's a bunch of trolls online that go PR, 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 not really understanding what that means. I do want to go into that in a bit more depth. But when the club uses the back channel to trash a player, which they've done repeatedly with Rashford, because where do you think these stories of underperformance in training come from? They come from inside the club. They can only, right? And I'm not saying it's necessarily formal from the coaches or anything like that. It's a very, very political club, Manchester United. There are deep divisions within the leadership, which some of the efforts by Ineos have gone towards trying to fix. There are still people at the club who, in my opinion, should be fired out of a fucking cannon into the sun for the way they behave. And I won't name them because it's outrageous to do that, but I know who they are, right? And so when the club do it, it's all right because it's the back channel. When Marcus Rashford or any other player for that matter has their say, it's outrageous and disgraceful, right? So there's immediately a double standard. That double standard is driven mostly by fan channels, and I use that word advisedly, fan, and blue tick trolls on social media accounts who are doing it for engagement farming, for certain, right? So we start there from that position. Marcus Rashford has already said, stop doing this, basically. I mean, he said it to the United Stand literally, but he has asked for this to stop happening. And then what did he actually say to Winter? He said, it's disheartening to be left out of the derby, I'm quoting here, but it happened. We won the game, so let's move on. It's disappointed, but I'm also someone, as I've got older, I can deal with the setbacks. What am I going to do about it? Sit there and cry about it, or do my best the next time I'm available? For me personally, I think I'm ready for a new challenge in the next steps. When I leave, it's going to be no hard feelings. You're not going to have any negative comments from me about Manchester United. That's me as a person. If I know that a situation is already bad, I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past, and I don't want to be that person. When I leave, I'll make a statement, and it'll be from me, from the heart, as he'll always be a Red. Yes, 100%. Yes, 100%. Right. So I think that's completely respectful of the club and the position. Now, the surprising thing, of course, is he's basically intimated that he's ready for a transfer away from the club. That's the unusual piece, I guess, to so directly say it. Although he hasn't actually said, I want to leave. He sort of intimated it. Go ahead.
He has kind of intimated it, but what's difficult from that piece, which is kind of a piece, it was also a tweet actually, but everyone has said that. Well,
that's how Winter does it these days. He left, he's writing a Substack, isn't he? He obviously was fired by the Times, cost cutting, because he's been there a long time, which I personally thought was a terrible decision, because I think he's one of the few old school football journalists left that aren't just there to drive traffic, and that's why the Times got rid of him. But he now uses Twitter as a way of writing his articles. It's kind of an interesting way of doing it now. Yeah.
But without the video evidence, the audio evidence, you don't know when that question was asked.
Exactly.
When he said, when he asked the question, he clearly asked the question, what will happen when you leave the club? And I think that's what Amorim has done really, really skillfully, is been like, he said he's ready for a new challenge. This is a new challenge, which it is, actually. And you can interpret, I kind of thought that when I read through it, I interpreted as, I'm not saying that I want to leave. However, yesterday the club said they want to get rid of me. Therefore, he's going to have to answer the question, what will happen when I leave? Yeah. And he's not saying that I want to. He's just saying it's probably quite likely, seeing as what came out yesterday, but I'm ready for a new challenge. Yeah, he intimates that he might want to go, but it's not conclusive. And then also, and then therefore, to me, it feels like he's up for the challenge of staying at the club, especially for, I don't know, however long it's going to be. If he goes in January, I doubt he's going to go in January. It doesn't make any financial sense. Like, who's going to be there for him? It feels like Rashford's going to be there for the rest of the season, like whether he goes in the summer or not. Therefore, it's imperative that he is on the same page as Amorim, and he's talking a good game, and he's ready for what's to come, and which is potentially be left out of more squads or potentially be on the bench. And unfortunately for him, suffer more criticism from idiots. Some of the criticism is, and some of the criticism is legitimate, right? But I mean, some of it is just not, and there are reasons for it not being, and yeah, there are pylons and stuff. But yeah,
Winter may have run two quotes together. It's pretty typical. I mean, I used to do it when I would write more often. You in a general conversation, some things kind of fit together, and you don't exactly run it in total order. So I think you're right in saying he may well have been talking about something different, and it makes it sound like he's asking for a transfer. It's unclear. But it is in response to the club saying, yeah, we're ready to let him go. They've slowed it out there, undoubtedly. Which if they are, that's all right. Players leave Manchester United. The greatest players in the history of the club have left Manchester United, and we live on. What I really reject strongly is the kind of social presence now, and the story and the narrative being driven by people online, and it being almost using Manchester United players to make their fame and fortune, and to the damage and the detriment of the club. And that's outrageous, really. So on just pure football performance, I think there is an argument to say, hey, we may have seen the best of Rashford in order. I mean, he said in that interview with Winter that he thought the best was yet to come. Now, maybe he's just a boxer talking a good game after being punched a few times, or maybe he really believes that. I don't know, but in footballing terms, you can make an argument. He certainly underperformed for 18 months or so, right? And I think that bit is very different from the social media commentary about him, which in many respects feels like there's nothing he can do. He scores, he gets criticised, he talks to the press, he's criticised. He doesn't talk to the press, he's aloof and he's criticised. He does a charity event, and it's all for PR. He doesn't do a charity event, and, well, he said he cared about these kids. He's not doing anything, right? There's absolutely nothing. The same happened with Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, pick a bunch of others, right? Legitimate performance, criticism, totally fine, and they all legitimately deserved criticism for their performances at time as well, making it deeply personal, following people around, telling untruths to get clicks, absolute bollocks, and it's totally outrageous. And people who do that, unfortunately, have massive followings. So it's a real shame it's got to that.
Yeah, and it's the language that's used, isn't it? It is deeply personal, and it's all bullshit in a lot of cases. Like, how many times have I seen the word rat used with, like, Jesse Lingard, with Marcus Rashford, with Paul Pogba in particular, those three? I see it with Rashford all the time. Yeah, he's the rat in the dressing room. He's the reason why it's all toxic. He's this, he's that, he's this. Like, these people have no idea. They have no idea. They've heard, like, potentially their mate at the pub say this. Like, there's no, like, legitimate basis to anything they say. It's all hearsay. It's all misrepresentation. Yeah, it may be true, but it's not based on anything, like, substantial in any respect. And this is what I hate about this conversation so much, is that it's gotten to the point where you can't even, like you say, there's nothing you can do which is right. And this is the literal human being that we do this with footballers all the time. We hold them to just an incredibly high standard that, yeah, he's had 2 years of bad football. I've heard some rumors about Rashford, which I won't repeat on this, to do with his mental health and potential other things, nothing to do with dressing room, which kind of, to me, are deeply troubling potentially, and might be a reason for his bad form, which, if they were true, then that is horrendous, and maybe explains a lot of the reason why he looks so just unwell, and he looks like not buzzy. He rarely smiles, even when he scores goals these days. He looks like the world is on his shoulders. And because of his footballing performance being so low for 2 years, people have this entitlement that they feel, oh, we can criticize, we can say anything we want about this person because he's a rat, because he's fucking shit at football, because he doesn't run around a lot, because he doesn't challenge for a ball. Yeah, those things sometimes might be true in this case, but it's a guy playing football for Man United. Like, the way you're reacting, the way you're dehumanizing this human being just because they might not do so. Yeah, you might not want him to play for our football club anymore, but why are you being so deeply personal? Why are you attacking so? It's like this person isn't real.
There's a lot of amateur psychologists
how they
out
treat
there
them.
who are like, I can read his body language and come out with an expert opinion about it. And
the difference between a psychologist and these people, though, is that as psychologists, you shouldn't be judgmental. These people are the biggest most judgmental people in the world. And it's just nasty. And like, people are very angry on the internet, and there's a million reasons why people are angry on the internet, because they probably don't express their emotions and feelings in very healthy ways. So they do it by attacking people like this, and they think, oh yeah, it doesn't matter because this guy can take it. Like, and that's what pisses me off so much about this conversation regarding Rashford, because like I say, he looks unwell. He looks like he can't take this anymore to that point. Like, he looks sad. Yeah. He looks like he doesn't want to be at Man United. That's one of the reasons why I want him to go, because it feels like for his sake, he's going to be better off without this toxicity which exists within our fan base, which is so annoying. And it doesn't just come from like the faceless people on Twitter. It comes from a lot of people who we've spoken about.
I was very disappointed by some people on Twitter who I like, and I think their work's good, who were basically celebrating the idea that he'd be leaving. He's a Manchester United academy player. He's been at the club since he was 8 years old. It's nearly 20 years. He's the only player in the squad who's ever scored 30 goals in the season. He's got 200 goals and assists for Manchester United. I think he's 12th on the all-time top scorers list and 8th on the assist list, or something like that, right? So you can say he's not good enough now, or he won't be good enough for a title-winning United side. You don't think his performances are good enough, but question his commitment and his fandom of this club. And to celebrate a player leaving, I just find it completely toxic. I did enjoy blocking an awful lot of people. All right, let's get on to Ruben Amorim. But it's the only way to do it. I wouldn't, no one would say that into my face and expect me to have a conversation with them in the pub. I'll just walk away, right? That's the online version. Ruben Amorim said, I don't talk about the future, we talk about the present. This kind of club needs big talent, and he's a big talent, so just needs to perform at the highest level, and that's my focus. I just want to help Marcus. I think it's right. We have a new challenge here. It's a tough one. So he's asked about this quote about the new challenge. For me, it's the biggest challenge in football because we're in a difficult situation. I already said this is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Sorry, Ruben. The biggest. I really hope all my players are ready for this new challenge. So we'll see whether he's in the squad for Tottenham or not. That's a different conversation, I think. If he's not, it'll feel like nail in the coffin, won't it? If he is, plays, scores, then we've got a different conversation. But I thought Amorim masterfully navigated that. He diffused the situation. He turned the conversation around completely and said he wants to support and help Marcus. And of course, because I think any coach would look at a player and go, hey, can I get the best out of him? If I can't, let's move him on. And that's fair dues, right? If Ruben Amorim doesn't think he can help improve Marcus or get him back to his top form, or doesn't think he fits in the style or whatever, that's perfectly fair and legitimate football conversation. But I think a lot of top coaches would go, hey, I think I'm the man who can get this guy back to his best now. If he can't, okay. So that was Amorim. The question about Rashford leaving is kind of complicated a little bit because of the financial part of it. So it's all right, the club briefing through the back channel, that they're ready to take short-term pain, but the financial involves are significant. So it's about 18.6 million PSR cost of wages to United at the moment. For another club buying him, it would be that spread over a 5-year period plus the transfer fee. So if you say it's a £40 million transfers fee, for example, it's another £8 million a year over a 5-year contract. So £26 million as a PSR cost. I mean, that for any club, that's a significant outlay. You can reverse that for United. So we'd take 18 million off the wages and whatever transfer fee, that would be our PSR benefit. Rashford, in terms of costs to United at the moment, I guesstimate is probably definitely behind Casemiro, who's on similar wages but costs a fee. And for the rest of this season would be behind Harry Maguire or roundabout in PSR terms, behind Anthony and Mount, certainly. So although he's on a very large wage, because he didn't come with the transfer fee, the economics are a little different for United. So that's the financial stuff. It's certainly hard, I would say, doing it right now. Most clubs will be looking to offload players for PSR reasons by June the 30th deadline for this financial. So unless they've got a lot of headroom right now, which most don't because they spend up to their limit, as we found out, it would be after July the 1st. That's my guesstimate. It gives us a few months to go, hey, can we turn this around? It would be an absolute shocker if United let them go in January. It would probably be a loan for those reasons, I would say. So,
yeah, I think that's it. What you say at the end, we've got a few months here, and I feel like the press, especially, and probably a lot of our fan base at this moment in time, think that this is over. But I think he'll be in the squad tomorrow against Tottenham, and I think he'll get a chance off the bench. And you never know with Amorim as well. He might even start the game. Like, I wouldn't put past Amorim to do that. So I feel like this isn't over, and the January story just doesn't ring true for me. I don't think Amorim would want that either. It just doesn't feel like Amorim is sitting here lying to me. It doesn't at all. And I feel like if you want any manager in world football almost for Marcus Rashford to be playing under, I feel like it's Ruben Amorim, because I spoke to a few people from Portugal, like a couple of journalists and a scout from over there, just asking my opinion on Amorim before he hired, and they all said the same thing regarding his communication and his emotional intelligence. And I feel that, especially with Ten Hag, and I know Ten Hag did get a tune out of him in the first year, Ten Hag was a very, very super cold character, and I feel that potentially if things are going badly, he might not have that kind of emotional intelligence and
he didn't,
and communication skills to get him firing again. He couldn't get the squad firing. He couldn't get Rashford firing again. Rashford's had Mourinho, who's just a completely toxic presence with everyone, even the people he makes better. Look at what he turned John Terry and Frank Lampard into, for example. Yeah, a horrendous manager to have. Under Ollie, things look great for Rashford, like the typical type of manager you'd think that Rashford would be good under. So therefore, it feels, 6-7 games into Amorim's tenure? At the moment, the reason why he's not playing well for Amorim is because he doesn't fit into the system. But I feel like Amorim will give this boy as much chance and as much arm around the shoulder, as much heart, as much listening, like an ear to be there for Rashford to get him back to where he can be. And like I say, I don't think there's a better manager in world football. Maybe there's a better club for Rashford right now, and away from the toxicity, away from the media glare, the media spotlight, potentially for sure. But I feel like Amorim, I don't think it doesn't feel like Amorim wants to get rid of him.
Didn't sound like it.
Like, he's so talented.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it at all.
Therefore, we can talk about, like, where's he going to go? Oh, he fit well at Arsenal, wouldn't he, instead of Martinelli, or PSG want him. For me, those conversations are almost redundant at the moment, because I feel like there is a chance for him to come back. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Amorim turned it around. Yeah. The way that this man can communicate and field those questions in press conferences, for example, in a second language is like, it's like watching art.
He's very good.
It's masterful.
He's very good.
He's so good, so charismatic, beautiful. And I feel like he can turn this around. I'm not saying he will, but if there's any manager in world football, I think it's almost him.
He's a former player. He understands players. I think there's no better person to turn this around if that's what he wants and that's what he believes he can do. And he is a brilliant communicator. He even has rival fans saying that as well, which is yeah. I mean, I think it's worth having a conversation before we leave about the number of coaches Rashford's played under and whether that has hindered his development, because I think there's a legitimate question to say, hey, of course it's on the player, and Amorim said that as one of the first things he said. It's on the player to be better, and that's most of the responsibility, but coaching matters as well. And so Rashford has had Van Gaal, Mourinho, Oli, Rangnick, Carrick, Ruud, Ten Hag, and Amorim. That's not in the right order, but how many managers is that? That's a lot. That's 5 plus a couple of temporaries, right? So it's a pretty bizarre and difficult situation in order for a young player to develop. And he's 27, so he's no longer a young player, but he's got another 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years to play at the top. Right? Harry Kane's still going great, and he's 33 more now. Lewandowski's even older, still playing and still scoring loads of goals. So there's plenty of room with modern fitness for Rashford to have another decade in football or so. And so, like, it shouldn't be the end of the story for him. And as you say, it's not clear that Ruben Amorim wants it to be the end of the story for him at United either. But yeah, all those coaches can't have been a great development ground.
No. And I'm sure loads of people would disagree with me here. And like I say, this is such a divisive issue, and I've given my opinion quite strongly on how I stand on this. But also, I think for me, the club have failed Marcus Rashford, like more than he has failed Manchester United. Like if Rashford has come around during in 1999 or in the early 2000s, we'd be almost building a statue of Marcus Rashford outside Old Trafford because he'd have scored that many goals, he'd have won that many trophies. He'd be absolutely revered. But he's come around at a part of United's life where everything is in complete chaos. Like we've seen Angel Di Maria come to the club and fail within a year. We've seen the best players in the world come to United, and so few of them have done anything of note. So therefore, the expectation that people have on an academy product to surpass all of those amazing signings, to not be affected by the chaos that exists, and chaos which still exists to today. Because I say that Amorim has dealt with this situation, in my opinion, in a really healthy manner. But the club have undermined him on Monday. They're still doing this. They're still failing Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford played for half a season with broken bones in his back.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Injured shoulder, broken back, and ankle problem. Yeah.
People forget this. People forget like what Rashford has had to go through at United. All the chaos, all the toxicity, all the hate. Even when he was like feeding children, he was getting Tory politicians like lambasting him, the right-wing press on him all the time. Obviously, therefore, like all the people who support those two, who read that press, who support the Tories were on him, United fans included in that. And then how that's kind of manifested over the next 3 years. The man has been through so much.
Yeah, that context is important. And the injury difficulties, the fact that apparently, reportedly, from people I respect, he was promised that there would be a revolutionary signings at United and that we're going to move forward. So that's not the first player to be promised that and to have been failed by the club. And then last season under Ten Hag, basically asked to play an auxiliary left-back in this wide, deep role, which was there, exposed all his weaknesses, which are in pressing and defensive work, and limited all his potential strengths, which is cutting in and shooting and taking on players, right? So that's all important context for why it has not gone as well as it has for him. I have a lot of sympathy for him. The press attacks on him were predictable because he took on the establishment and won, by the way, right? And all of this about feeding children. Raise your hand if you're 4 hungry children. I mean, what? Look, have a look at yourselves, you fucking inhuman cunts. Sorry. But yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for
also
Rashford.
racially abused.
He's always
unbelievable
unbelievable amounts of racial abuse. Like some very public. He apparently gets a lot in his DMs as well, which was in the was it in the winter piece he mentioned that. So yes, I have a lot of sympathy, and at the same time, I think it's okay to say he's performed well below what we would like him to perform.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
If fans are there celebrating his demise, you really need to have a word with yourself and think about whether this is what is it that you're doing here? Like, what is fandom to you? Why is it all right to abuse a player? So, and maybe he'll go away and like maybe he'll have a great second half of his career somewhere else, or maybe he'll just enjoy life. So I don't know whether you've seen images of Jesse Lingard absolutely loving it in Korea. It's not the highest standard of football, but he seems to be having a good time. Good for him. So
I've always loved that about Lingard, and he's another player who got loads of hate.
He did.
He was a lot more limited in his ability than Rashford, and got a lot of hate for that, I think. But I've always loved the jolliness, and I thought he was a great influence in the dressing room as well. I saw Ahmad and Onana doing their little dance in the dressing room the other day, and I was thinking, oh my God, a lot of fans are going to hate that.
Well, Ahmad had a haircut and put it on Instagram, and he got hate for that as well, because you're not allowed to do anything.
But it's just the point about him just being a person is just, especially considering everything he's been through, that's all I can see. The criticism of his performances this season, justified. Like I said at the start of the show, we had this conversation on Thursday. He's not been good enough from a footballing perspective, but that doesn't mean you have to fucking just literally dehumanize the bloke. And that's what I hate about this conversation so much. People literally forgetting this person as a human being.
All right. We are humans that need to get on to something else. This has been a 30-minute NKT daily, a little bit extra today, but that's fine. That's fine. What else have I got to do but post content and edit it and take abuse from people? No doubt. It is interesting.
Comments on this are going to be beautiful, aren't they?
YouTube commentators are interesting. There's no way of just nuking them, unfortunately. Well, you can just block them, I suppose. I've had a few of those as well. But anyway, thank you very, very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Tom. More to this story to come, I think, no doubt. So there may well be another wrinkle in this after Tottenham. We'll find out. Catch you soon, everyone. Bye now.